So here is 10A, and what Unit 10 is about is inequalities. So hopefully we have seen these symbols before, but what we're talking about are our less than symbols and our greater than symbols, okay? So our less than symbol, if we look down, our less than symbol right here, okay, is where the arrow is pointing to the left there. Our greater than symbol, then we have our less than or equal to, and our greater than or equal to. So if I'm equal to, we have lines underneath. If I'm not, then there's no lines. Also, you'll notice that we have some circles next to those. So when I'm graphing, I use an open circle if it's a less than or a greater than. I use a closed circle when it's less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to, because that means I am included. Now, at the very beginning that I skipped over, we could just have equals to. In that case, I'm simply just a closed circle. Jake, is that you? Okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to, Jake, can you just mute that? Mute that. Okay. And is your music on? Blasting? Let's turn that off. When we work on individual classwork, you can listen to music. But as we do this, just have that off, okay? So what we're going to be doing this week is we're going to mainly be graphing, not so much solving. Little pieces of solving to make sure our graphs are okay, but for the most part, we're going to be graphing, okay? So if we take a look at this, the main thing we want to always try to do, and it's bolded here, is try to get your variable so it's on the left-hand side. So whenever it's on the right-hand side, you want to reverse that, okay? So our goal is to have variable on the left, okay? So if it's on the right, like it said, we're going to try to reverse the symbol. But if we have our variable on the left-hand side, it's going to make graphing a lot easier, okay? So we're going to do some examples together, and then I'm going to have you guys do some on your own. So for number 1, it says x is less than 8. The good news is the variable is on that left-hand side. So we just read that as x is less than 8. So when I go to my number line, of course, 8 is right here, okay? Less than 8 means I'm going to put a circle on 8. Now my question to you is it an open circle or a closed circle?
Closed.
Which one?
Open circle.
Open circle. And yes, Moses is right with that because it's just a less than. It does not, and don't do this, but I don't have a line underneath like I'm putting. That means I'm, if the line was there, I'm included. But since there's not, 8 is not included. So I'm just going to have an open circle on 8. And if I'm less than 8, are those numbers to the left of 8 or to the right of 8? To the left, right? 7, 6, 5, 4, those are less than. So you have two options when you're graphing. Since I have a different color, I can literally just graph like right on the number line like that. But if you're using pencil and that's hard to see, then you can always make a little like arrow up and then arrow over.
Wait, so we do need a line or we don't need?
I was just showing you your two options of how you're going to write your answer is, what do you mean by a line?
Do we need an arrow on this one?
Oh, absolutely. What do you mean? I'm confused. Sorry, by what?
Before you said we don't need a line or arrow on this one and we just need the circle.
No, what I was saying is that on so graphing is different. The arrows and stuff are different than the circle. Because on number 1, notice I'm going to use orange to explain what you're asking me. Because on number 1, see how I have just put a line right there? There's not one there really, right? So since there's not one there, that's why I use an open circle. If there was a line here, then I would use a closed circle. That's what I was talking about in the for the first part. So we're going to have an open circle. And now in terms of the arrow and the drawing, that you'll always have here if it's an inequality. So since I'm saying I'm less than 8, I need to represent everything less than 8, and that is by showing an arrow going to the left. Whether you want to draw the arrow above, like what is on the screen right now, are you looking? Whether you draw it like that, or you put it literally right on the number line. Whoops, my pen just went crazy. Or you put it right on the number line. I don't care, but it needs to just be very visible. And so if you're using pencil on the black line, you may not be able to see it well. That's what I'm saying. Is that clear?
And so for the next one,
Hold on. Let's just finish number 1. Is everybody okay with number 1? Okay. So if we go to number 2, we have x is greater than or equal to -5. So I'm going to go to -5, and I first say, do I have an open or closed circle? Closed, because it's saying greater than or equal to. So I have a closed circle. And now I go ahead and do the arrow part. Am I going to the right or to the left? So if I'm greater than, which direction does that go? To the right. To the right. So again, I can either go right on that number line or I can go above. It's your choice of how you're doing that, but you need to make sure the arrow is going in the right direction. Now, when your inequality is written properly, aka where that variable is on the left-hand side, I hope everyone's listening right now and not just moving ahead. If your variable is on that left-hand side, the way that inequality is pointing should match the way your arrow is pointing. Look at number 1. I'm pointing to the left, and look at my arrow. What's it doing? Pointing to the left. On number 2, it's pointing to the right, and look at my arrow. It's pointing to the right. That trick only works, though, if that variable is on the left-hand side. So that's why I starred and said that our goal is to have the variable on the left-hand side. Okay? For number 3, that says x is equal to 0. So that is just like the very beginning. If x is equal to 0, what type of circle do I use? Open or closed? Closed. And if I'm equal to 0, so I have a closed circle on 0, if I'm equal to 0, is that telling me I should go to the right or to the left? No, it's just saying it's only 0. So I simply just have a dot here. Nothing else. Questions?
notice that you don't seem to be moving the line, the arrows that you're writing on the chart all the way. It's you
So in terms of, so Tim's question was like, how long do the arrows need to be? Pretty much, is that what you're asking me? So yeah, so you just need to have it be long enough. If I'm going to go back to number 2, I'm just using yellow. If you wanted to have your arrow be like, and go all the way like that, go ahead and do so. But notice, I'm giving it enough length to show move to the right for sure, but you don't need to highlight every single thing. That arrow is telling me that blue line would keep on going on and on and on and on anyways. Okay, so give it enough length so that it's clear, but you don't have to. So just, I guess, don't do something dinky like do, just like that. Give it a little bit of length. Okay. All right. So what I'd like you guys to do is I'd like you to try just do 3 of them right now on your own. So go ahead and do 4, 5, and 6. Okay, 4, 5, and 6. I'll give you just a minute to do that. And then we'll check them and continue on with 7. If you want to go ahead, you can, but I need you to be paying attention when I put up answers because some of these are a little trickier. Okay, so 4, 5, and 6 for sure. Give you a minute. Go for it.
Why did 2 of them on the second page say rewrite?
because those are the ones we're going to go do together. That's why I just said to do 4, 5, and 6. But again, remember my goal is to always have the variable on the left-hand side. Those ones don't. All right, so let's see here. So for number 4, what type of circle did you have? Open or closed? Let's hear from somebody at home. For number 4, opened or closed circle on number 4?
Closed.
Closed. Good, guys. So closed on number 2, right? Because it's saying x is less than or equal to 2. So it's closed. And if I'm less than, those are values that are smaller. So I'm going to go to the left. All right, let's go down to number 5. X is less than -4. Open or closed circle? John, what do you think? Open or closed circle on number 5? Kate? Open circle. It's just a less than symbol. So since there's not a line underneath, I'm not included. So I'm just going to have an open circle on -4. And if I'm less than, that means to go to the left. And my pen is like really hard to write straight, so I apologize. Okay. Number 6, open or closed circle? Jordan? Closed, right. So closed on 2, any arrows? No, it's just an equal to. Okay? Alrighty, so I said just to go up to 6 because I want to make sure we're clear with 7 and 8. And notice 7 and 8 say rewrite it. Why does it say rewrite it? Because we always want our variable on the left. It's not. So here's what you do to rewrite, and I hope you're all paying attention right now. For number 7, instead of the x being on the right, we're going to put x on the left. Now, tell me, what was that inequality doing to the x? Was it pointing to the x or opening up to the x? It was opening up. So when I rewrite it, I'm not changing things. I'm going to continue to have it be opening up to the x. So see how it's, I don't know, when you first learn these, did a teacher ever tell you about the alligator eats the bigger thing? Okay, the mouth is open. So it's still open to the x. I'm going to keep it open to the x. And then I'm going to put the number part on the right-hand side, which was 1. Okay, so that's just me rewriting it correctly. Now we will read it correctly. What is that saying? Can someone read that to me? Is it saying x is greater than, less than? What is this saying? Good, Jordan. So x is greater than or equal to 1. So we'll have a closed circle on 1, and I'm greater than means to go to the right. And then that arrow trick works because I flipped the inequality so that I rewrote it so that x is on the left. Notice I'm pointing to the right and the arrow is pointing to the right. So we'll do the same thing on number 8. On number 8, we're going to rewrite that. So I'm going to have the x come first. It was pointing to x, so I'm going to have it still pointing to x. And then I have the -2. What type of circle? Open circle. And it's saying x is less than. So I go to the left. Any questions? Okay. Number 9 is simply just x is equal to. So close circle right on -3. 10. Don't need to rewrite. X is first. So what type of circle? Open circle on 2. And if I'm less than, it means go to the left. Does anyone have any questions of how I know whether to go to the left or to the right? Alrighty, so now what we're going to do is we're going to have to do a little bit of solving for this next page. Okay, so let's just make sure everybody is good. Does everybody have your first page all done? 1 through 4, and then 5 through 10. Does anyone have any questions with anything from 1 through 10 before I continue? All right, so let's go on now. This is an important thing that you may have already done and remember, but you may not have. And that is whenever we multiply or divide inequalities by a negative number, we have to reverse the inequality symbol. We have to flip it. Okay? So if I divide by -1, we have to flip our symbol. If I divide by -17, flip our symbol. Okay? So if I look at number 10, we just want our equation, our inequality to say x, not -x. So to get rid of this negative, I need to divide through by -1. So everybody make sure you're paying attention to number 10 right now. So I divide by a negative. What is -x divided by -1? A negative divided by a negative gives me a positive. So I just get positive x. Because I divided by the -1, that symbol of a less than now flips to a greater than. Okay? So when you multiply or divide by a negative, it flips the symbol. Now, what's 3 divided by -1? -3. So this right here is what that I'm boxing in. That's what I need to go plot. So I go to -3, open circle, because it's just a greater than, and it's saying greater than. So I want the values that are larger. That's to the right. Okay, number 11. What's my first step to do on number 11? Divide by -1. -x divided by -1 gives me the positive x that I'm looking for. But since I divided by a negative, I must flip my symbol. Notice it was a greater than or equal to. Now I have a less than or equal to. I still kept that line underneath. Now what's -4 divided by -1? Negative divided by negative is a? Positive 4. Good. What type of circle will I have to graph? Open or closed?
Open.
Closed, because it's saying less than or equal to. See the line underneath? That means I'm included. So closed circle. And I'm less than, right? And we can see the arrows pointing to the left. So there we go. For number 12, we have the most work we have to do so far. I have to first rewrite this. Before I do any dividing or graphing, I need to rewrite this because the variable is not on the correct side. So first step is to write -x on the left-hand side. Now, was it opening up to that? Yes, it was. So I keep it opening, and then I have 7. So I did not do any solving here. I simply just rewrote first. So everything stays the same except for the locations. Now I go do the calculation. The calculation says I need to divide through by -1 to both sides. So -x divided by -1 gives me positive x. Since I divided by a negative, I have to flip my symbol. and 7 divided by -1 is -7. Does that one make sense to everybody? So whenever the variable is not on the correct side, first do that. And then if you have to divide through by a negative, then divide. Open circle on -7. And I'm less than. So here there's not much room. So your line will be pretty short. Does anyone have any questions or are confused with anything?
Could you go back to 9?
To number 9?
Yeah.
Sure. Are we okay with, did everyone finish 12? Okay, so number 9. X equals 1? Do you have a question on it?
I just had to look at it.
Okay. All right, so let's keep on going now. So go ahead, everybody, and do 13 and 14 right now. Okay, so try those, show your division, make sure you have the correct symbols, and then your open and close circles. So let's do those, give you a good minute, and then we'll check them. But everyone needs to be trying them, okay? 13 and 14. We're back to normal lunch. Is that your question?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, back to normal because people are actually here. Moses, yes, to answer your question, yes. And then just remember what direction though. Give 30 more seconds on those. We'll put them up and then look at the last part of today's work. Alrighty, so for 13, the first thing we need to do, so everyone pay attention to check your work, is we need to divide through by -1. That leaves me with a positive x. However, it flips the symbol and it leaves me with a -1 because a positive divided by a negative is a negative. So we should get x is greater than or equal to -1. That means closed circle on -1. And we're going to the right. We are greater than. Okay, again, I don't care if you draw right on the number line or up above. Just needs to be clear. Any questions with 13? Remember, if you don't remember to flip your symbol, your arrow is going to go into the wrong direction. okay? And it only flips when I'm dealing with dividing through by negatives. On those first set on the pages before, we weren't doing any dividing, so we didn't have to worry about that. We just did the way the arrow was. 14, we have to divide through by that negative. We now get a positive x, but because I divided by the negative, I flip my symbol, so now it points to the x. And a negative divided by a negative gives me a positive 5. So x is less than 5 is what I'm going to plot. That's an open circle, and less than is to the left.
Could you just scroll up for a second so I can check something?
Does anyone have any questions or clarification needed? Please don't hesitate to ask. Okay, are we good for me to flip to the last page? All right, so the last page is different because it's now giving us the graphs and we need to write the inequality. Okay, so if we look at the graph, the first thing we're going to look at is where is the circle, because that's the number we're going to use. So where is the circle on 15? It's at -2. So what we're going to do is we're going to have our variable. We're going to have an x. I'm going to leave some space, and then we're going to have the number. What I need to do is I need to figure out what goes in between these two things. Is it a greater than or equal to, a less than or equal to? That's what we need to figure out. So let's look at the graph. What's being plotted? Is it values greater than -2 or less than -2? Greater than. Now we have to confirm, is it just greater than or is it greater than or equal to? And that's by looking at the circle. Is it an open or closed circle? On 15, it's a closed circle, so that means I need the line underneath. So x is greater than or equal to -2 is my answer. Do you follow that? Yes? So for 16, if we do that one, we'll have my variable of x. We look at the number where the circle is, that's -4. And now we have to figure out what inequality symbol goes in there. So we look at the arrow and the type of circle. The arrow is going to the left. Does that mean greater than or less than? Less than. And should it be a less than or equal to symbol? Just a less than, because it's an open circle. So no line underneath. Any questions? Okay, so there are 4 of them that I would like you to try right now. 17, 18, 19, and 20. Do those now, and then I'm going to ask people to submit some answers through the private chat. And you can use words, or you can actually sort of type them in the chat. But just first do them on your paper, and then I'll let you know what to answer. Okay? Go ahead, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Finish it up. When you have done them, in the private chat, tell me your answers to 18 and 19. Now listen, the inequality symbols, if you look at your keyboard, they're usually like right next to the letter M. Do you see that like less than and greater than symbol? Okay, so I'm making something up. I'm going to put this into everyone. This is not an answer to anything, but I could say, for instance, x is less than 20. See how I'm going to type that in? Okay, that's how you can type me your answers. So type me your answers to numbers 18 and numbers 19. Okay, in a private chat, go ahead and do that.
Wait, but so for 18, it's a less than symbol, but it's going upwards. So does that mean
What do you mean? Why would it be a
on number 18, there's a less than symbol and the arrow on the line is going up and back.
So does that mean it should be a less than symbol? If it's going to the, it's getting bigger, we should use a greater than.
Yeah, but on the line, it's using less than.
What do you mean on the line? Do you mean the open circle?
Yeah.
Okay, open circle doesn't mean less than. Open circle just means whether you put the line underneath or not. So open circle, so the fact that it's going to the right would mean it's greater than. Now you determine should it be greater than or equal to. But since it's just an open circle, we just say greater than. So the open and close tells me whether under my symbol there's that little line or not. Do you get that? Or do you want me to clarify that some more? Okay. All right, so I'm looking at what everyone is sending here. Kate, yours looks good. Victoria, yours looks good. Jocelyn, yours looks good. Dominic, 19 looks good, but 18 has a little error. Eva, 18 looks good, but 19 has a small error. Thank you to everyone who has been typing answers. Good. Tim, yours looks good. Max. Okay, let's go through these because now there's some questions I don't know what people are typing in right now. So let's look at number 17, okay? So we have 17, 18, 19, 20. I just asked you to put in 18 and 19s. But if we look at 17, okay? So let's look at 17. My number is on the 0. So I'm going to have an X and I'm going to have 0. Now I'm looking at the arrow. Does it go to the left or to the right? It's going to the left. So I'm going to be less than. Now, here is the question a lot of you are having. Is it this symbol or should it be this symbol? That's the question. Because it's a closed circle, that's when I have the line underneath. So my answer should be X is less than or equal to 0. Remember, equals to means includes. Okay, so if it's a closed circle, that's when you have the line underneath. If it's an open circle, that's when you don't have the line. The direction tells us whether it's less than or greater than. Is that clear to everybody? Okay, 18, many of you had correct. We have an X and we have a 3. This time we're pointing to the right, so we are greater than. And it's simply just greater than because it's an open circle. No line underneath. Okay, so make sure your arrow's the right, your inequality is the right way. 19, we have a -6. And we're greater than. We're pointing to the right, so we're greater than. And it's simply just greater than as well because there's no closed circle, so no line. And then number 20 is X and a 3. We're going to the left, so we're less than. But because it's a closed circle, we're less than or equal to.